don't you just fucking love seeing me full screen? I know I'm supposed to be announcing things, but this is the first time I think I'm going full screen, so you can see like my, where is it, dish soap and my air fryer and other kitchen appliances. So that being said, welcome to this partly devlog, partly update, partly announcement video. Let's go through this very quickly. First and foremost, if you're just here because you read the title and you wanna see what this is all about, link down below in the description to a Google document where I've linked the new test build for the game. The new test build will be only this level compared to the first test build we had, where we had a hub world test level and a like a prototype level. The game's changed a lot since then. Right now we have a very different main gameplay loop, a different philosophy and end goal in mind, and this reflects that. So everything you're going to see in this test build will be, let's see, I made a main menu, will be this. I've made a tutorial. Actually, you can't see that yet. Hold on, now you can. I've also gotten some shortcuts on my phone now. Very useful indeed. So I've made a little tutorial so you can learn to play the game a little bit more. So what you can't see at the moment though, let me fix that real quick, is that we have the press spacebar face button to jump. There's also a little graphical update with the dust kicking up. Those are very much placeholder assets. I've changed the camera around a little bit. It's a little further away. I think that feels a bit better. Sometimes these things do still overlap. Again, it's a very simple tutorial. I'll just show you the main mechanics of the game. And that's all it needs to do, really. And then we have opening the pause menu, going back to the main menu, and then you can play the alpha itself, which is all about, as you can see here, again, there's overlapping things. It's a prototype, okay? You need to go down all these paths to find the keys to these keyholes, for lack of a better term. And once you got all four of them in there, you get kicked back into the main menu. I might, before I start compiling it, make it so that it automatically also opens the feedback form, because I really do want people to fill that in. So you've seen me go through this about 1,000,000 times. I'm going to maybe work on some particle systems when I'm bored, because these particle systems are relatively simple. Anyway, so the things I've visually added, and this is more getting into the few little things that I've done to add to the game, is these particle systems when you land and when you walk. They're the same system, but just scaled up or down. They will change color depending on the surface that you're walking on. I wanted to do this more dynamically. Sadly, though, it's a pretty hard-coded thing, as I'll show you right now. Okay, so what happens is every time you land on the ground, we have here, for instance, we spawn I don't know where exactly it is, somewhere around here. It spawns the landing dust. There we go, that's the one. We also have spawn landing dust for the right foot and the left foot. Those get triggered through the actual animations that we use, which I can show you real quick if you want to. If you don't want to, that's kind of too bad, because this is pre-recorded. This is not really like a live kind of thing where we can interact, so I don't know why you thought that would be the case. Going into here in the animation blueprint real quick, we have a setup here that is a animation notify, which just casts to the actual player blueprint to do the spawn left dust and spawn right dust, which I just showed you here. And those get Those get triggered through, can we see that very, very quickly? We might be able to if I look around a moment. So here we go. Took a little while to figure it out where it was, but those get triggered through these little flags in here, which line up with when his foot touches the ground. And that's when these get spawned. And what this just does is the moment this gets spawned, it line traces just straight down to see what's directly beneath me. It ignores all the actors in this array, which really is only the player character, but would at any point I make another actor that needed to be ignored here, I can easily add that. So that's why I opted to go with an array just for future-proofing purposes, really. But then it just looks down at the material that the object beneath it has. So if a object has multiple materials, it doesn't quite work because it always will take the element index 0 of that object. Or that component, rather. So if we've got a actor with multiple components with different materials, that'll still work. If one component is made up of multiple materials, which probably won't be the case in most, if not all, scenarios in this game, things become slightly more problematic. If we get to that, I might try to figure out a way around that. I wouldn't know how right now, but it's not that big a deal with the very cel-shaded, cartoony, stylized look that I'm going for. Most of the things are going to be either flat colors or flat colors with very little extra detailing added on top of it. So that then goes into this little function here, which is just comparing materials. What that does, and this is really where the hard coding of the system comes in. It's really just like updating to array. So what this does is in material array, it just checks for the material that it sees. Does it match any of these? So it goes, does it match ground grass? If so, move on to the next bit and just stop this loop and break it. If it doesn't match grass, it goes on to see whether or not it matches gold. If it does, breaks the loop, moves on, etc, etc. So if I just want to add a new material here, for instance, let's say do we have a glass material? I don't know, do we have glass materials? That's actually a pretty bad example now that I think about it. Let's add a... do we have a rock material? Yeah, so we have this cliff rock material, which seems pretty black. So then we go to the material color array, and these are corresponding. These have to be in the same order. So this is a grass, this is gold, this is stone. Adding another one here, we can go pretty much black, alpha add 1. We probably want to be a bit darker than that still. There we go. And now when we walk on top of this specific material, which let's make this block into that, we get black particles. So as you can see, that's green particles, that's gold particles, yellowish more, and these particles become black and gray, which really helps them to not stand out as much. When we walk around here, you can really tell that these particles are very in your face. When they blend in more with the surface you're walking on, there are a lot more like small details than being so in your face, especially when these materials tend to be a little darker. So that's a little extra just fun that I added. So when there's no other material, it just defaults to a white, or when it doesn't see any matching material, it just defaults to white for the particles, but that shouldn't be a problem because I'm going to have to add every material you can walk on in this array and have a matching color there. That's really everything that's changed for the project since last we spoke. So to recap, this is the second test build. It's going to be the last prototyping build, potentially. I'm waiting for actual like level design and stuff until I've gotten all the notes in. Some of the notes that I've already gotten from like pre-testing, but just like people I directly know and that have played it, I've already implemented things like changing the camera around a little bit. I'm going to wait like a week or two for people to play through this test build, implement any feedback that seems to be necessary, and after that there's not going to be a lot of progress that I can show for a while, because I am now moving on to concepting. And the concepting phase is something that is not very exciting. It's not very... Actually, let me go back to the camera. It's not very exciting. It's not very sexy at all. What it is just me writing down ideas in a document and making sure that everything thematically fits together very well. And just like putting down black on white, just in a document, whatever I'm going to do. I'm going to have 5 different themed worlds, and in those worlds I'm going to have like 4, 5 or 6 levels each. And those levels are going to be like this structure that you see right here in front of you. I want to write all of that down before I even start making the first level. And the moment I have written it all down and I finalized my decisions on that, there is no changing that anymore. There's nothing going to be nothing is going to be removed from that. Nothing is going to be added to that anymore. Because I've already experienced quite a bit of scope creep with this game, as you are well aware if you've been watching this for the past year. And I need to stop myself from doing that even more. So 5 worlds with 5 or 6 levels, roughly, maybe 4 and some each. So that's going to be 25 to 30 levels that I need to make in this scope, but like not ugly. That in and of itself is going to be a fuck ton of work to create. And all those levels are likely also going to have like unique gameplay elements that I need to then create and program, and variations on enemies that need to be made and programmed. So there's going to be a lot of work that needs to be done. And I want to be sure that if I start working on one of these things, it's viable. Because the computer world that I started making and the editing level that I started making at the very, very start of this journey ended up not being viable. And they were very educative. Is that a word? It is now. I learned a lot from making both of those things. About technically like doing the modeling, about the level design, about just working in Unreal. About what this game is, the identity of the game itself, making something that doesn't fit taught me a lot about what does fit and what it should be like. So it wasn't entirely wasted time, but a large portion of it still was wasted time, because I could have probably run into a lot of those issues in just simple prototyping and concepting, which I didn't do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to first write out all the levels, have a plan, and then everything I need to do in the engine is first build out a block mesh to make that plan playable, and then we're gonna go back to all of the visual elements, and then we go back over the level design, see if the new models fuck over anything in particular. And I'm going to do that one world at a time. So I've got 3 worlds written down right now in very rough outlines. I'm going to start making one of those worlds, and that's going to be the next test build. So that's probably going to be like 6 to 8 months from now by the time we get to that, if not longer, because I want that to be more or less finished, right? There's going to be a little bit of feedback coming in from those new test players down the line, hopefully, that I'll need to implement and do things with. But I want to make one world that I would feel at least decent about, like shipping, if it were a smaller, just one world game. and I don't want to waste any more time. I've learned a lot. I'm going to be learning a lot. I'm still going to be making mistakes. I'm going to mismanage time. I'm going to do a lot of things that are not optimal. But I don't want to be creating things anymore for this particular game that I'm going to throw away later. If I make something that needs to be replaced, like the character animations I have right now, it could be very well that like a year from now, I look at them and I'm like, let's make those again. I can do better now. I've got a year more of experience in animation. I can make better animations. Very well could be the case. What I don't want to do is create something that I then just straight up don't use. Replacing things is fine. Improving things is fine. I'm not going to make a single model. I'm not going to make, well, I can't promise it won't be a single model or not a single blueprint. But that is the goal. I'm, from this point forward, not going to make a single element that's not going to end up in the final game. And to ensure that, there's a lot of pre-production work, meaning that there's a lot of planning. I'm going to plan out everything and then I'm going to make it, rather than doing a little bit of planning and I'm making it and seeing how it works. And again, while that is a very insightful process and it helps you learn a lot and it helps you learn quickly and on your feet, for production purposes, it's a fucking mess. And over a year later into the journey of making this game and learning Unreal and learning more and more about Blender, I already knew quite a bit about Blender before I even opened Unreal from like an animation perspective and a modeling perspective. But having learned a lot in this past year and a half or so, it's time to dial it up to like proper production. And that's what we're going to do now. So do go down and below in the description to play the test build for this game. And next week we'll be back with I don't know what. There's going to be a lot of different types of content coming to the channel as well in the next couple of weeks and months. I'm still working on editing a video that the recording is done, because it's another made in a day video, right? So I made that in a day and the recording is done. Now I just need to edit it, and this is going to be a more heavily edited video. It is going to be by far the most heavily edited video on this channel, and that very much includes the video essays that are still on this channel. So that's going to take a while. That's probably not going to be finished next week. There's going to be some tutorial style videos of techniques that I figured out that I want to share, because I think showing those in a devlog is interesting, but isn't a very good way to learn. And I want to take you guys on this learning journey with me as well as the development journey. I'm now at a point where I feel confident enough that when I learn new stuff and new techniques, I have a good enough basis in both Unreal and Blender, to the point where I can actually start explaining things as well in a more tutorialized format. So that's going to be definitely a thing as well. Sometimes those will be extra uploads besides the devlogs. Sometimes they will maybe replace the devlogs if there's nothing particularly interesting to update you on in the devlog, especially since there's going to be a lot of like concepting done over the next couple of weeks. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be an interesting couple of months. It's going to be an interesting year. It's going to be an interesting however long it takes to get this fucking game made. And I already have ideas for other games that I want to make. So I might do some side projects and have videos on that as well. We'll see. But for now, how long am I recording for? About 20 minutes. So let's end this. And I will see you all back the next time.